How does trust play into this awakening process? Well, at first, we trust our own mind. We don't realize that the confines of our mind, the confines of our concepts about ourselves, about time, and so forth, are actually causing a tremendous amount of suffering and struggle. We haven't heard about a possibility of breaking free of that world of mind identification. So essentially we trust our own thoughts, but unfortunately, that's the last thing we should trust. What we trust then is a set of stereotyped beliefs, perceptions, distortions, summarized in Buddhism with the term ignorance. Not ignorance of information, ignorance to the natural reality. Ignorance to the truth that we can live without suffering, that we can live in peace, interconnection. We can live without the specter of doubt over our shoulder all the time. So, at some point, often we realize that trusting thoughts leads to a lot of clinging, grasping, struggle, resistance, discomfort, dysphoria. And hopefully, at that point, we also hear that there's this possibility. Sometimes it's called awakening, sometimes it's called kensho. Often it has no name. But the possibility is for something that is fully beyond the world defined by thought, in dimension, in fluidity, in its absorption into the living truth that is always available. When we hear about this, we often negotiate for a while. We don't fully trust it because the enticement of the mind, specifically the enticement of doubt, is strong. But if we just keep our eyes open, keep our heart open, pay attention to what's actually happening, we'll see that that old way of being, thinking, believing, grasping, pushing, pulling, really just leads again and again to misery. So then this new possibility starts to become more interesting, more poignant, more enticing. Now, often at this point, once we start to orient toward this possibility, we orient toward it through the filter of mind and thought, which will orient to it in the sense of it being a possibility in time, or it being finally getting what our thoughts tell us we want. So there's still a good amount of distortion here, but underneath that distortion, there is a true possibility that's starting to illuminate itself. And the more we orient to that, the more we learn and realize in direct experience that those thoughts about the future, about what we think awakening is going to give us, they're just distorted. They're unnecessary. They're not actually what this is about, this awakening, journeyless journey. So then we have a deeper trust now in this process. And we have a deeper trust that takes us beyond the confines of thought. It takes us beyond doubt at some point. So now we trust, call it the Dharma vehicle. Call it this possibility that shows me through my own intuition that I am not my thoughts. And this does take some trust. It takes at some point, a willingness to really drop into the unknown, step into the unknown, let ourselves be overtaken by the unknown. By the time this happens, this is called awakening, we've developed a profound trust in the Dharma, in living truth, even though it may not always be that obvious that that's what's happening. But something has dropped very deep into the energetics of what's going on that says, okay, I'm willing to let go. Willing to let go of all the old ways that just didn't work. Willing to let go of all the ways I've made myself struggle and suffer, and others. I'm willing to let go of all that and enter this mystery. Now, once we do enter this mystery, we are very pleasantly surprised. We enter this world of paradox where simultaneously it's the most amazing and important thing that's ever happened to us, and it's also very natural. It's clear that it's just this way, which may be the biggest surprise of all, is that, wow, I didn't cause this. This isn't caused by a set of conditions. This isn't anything to do with thoughts or belief. All of that, the conditions, the thoughts and beliefs, the karmic residues, those were obscuring this, but this is already here. So in one sense, now we've moved beyond trust, because our direct experience is confirmatory. Our direct experience is validating this truth that can't be untold, can't be unseen now. And at the same time, we also know that the relative residues, the resistance patterns, the reactivity, the repressed emotion, the confusion, the illusory beliefs or distorting beliefs, all of that is also just part of all of this. So now we, again, it's paradoxical, but we enter this space where there is a deep trust in the whole process. And we will notice resistance patterns that are really not even our doing, that are ingrained in our behavior and belief that go back a long way. So now we have to trust that clearer and clearer seeing in the relative aspect will continue this unbinding process, and it's necessary. A willingness to see everything closely, and then more closely, and then more closely, to feel everything fully, and then more fully, and then more fully. We call this shadow work. So now we trust shadow work. We trust that the discomfort of having revealed what needs to be revealed is lawful. It is the way this is supposed to go. At some point, we start to dissolve enough of this reactivity and resistance that perceptual filters start to dissolve. These fundamental filters that make it appear as if reality is divided up into things, objects, subject, here and there, past and future. And as those perceptual filters dissolve, we start to realize a space that has no entry and exit point. We realize a truth that is rather physical in one sense. It's about the physical world. It's about the nature of reality itself, not about mind or consciousness or thought. And that's a whole different ballgame. That's a depth of emptiness, a depth of radiance, a depth of intimacy that is often far beyond what we experienced or glimpsed with initial awakening. And from this empty world of fullness, we learn to fully and unequivocally trust the radiant nature of non-dual. Non-dual meaning not two, meaning the endlessly fluctuating, intimate, and essenceless textures of presence that are here all the time. The sound in the body in the sky in the universe nowhere in particular, and also one drop of rain. And on and on and on, interpenetrating dharmas, interpenetrating empty phenomena, endlessly. And the more we trust this, the more we trust the vastness of this energetically, the deeper that this unbinding can go, the deeper that this shadow material can be revealed, the deeper that the most subtle shadow material resistance patterns that could not be seen with the mind, could not be seen with even the infinite nature of consciousness. It has to be fully revealed, embodied. That's Cleo saying hi by flapping her ears at you. Revealed, embodied, dissolved, ultimately just realized to be, and to be this infinite, spaceless space. And then we have an infinite vessel or cauldron in which transformation can continue on its own, both spontaneously and also through a certain personal intention. At this point, the commitment to truth, to the Dharma, is essentially complete. We don't hold back anything. We don't have competing agendas. And this is really a quantum leap in the depth of experience and realization. So we trust that which is transcendent of all form, all thought. And it's also the radiant texture of sound, the radiant texture of color. And it's also the sound of color and the sound of one hand and the flavor of breath and the taste of wind. So the trust now is the Dharma, is the realization, is the non-dual, is the empty, full nature.